Good evening. Bitter infighting has erupted within the Conservatives over the Downing Street party row. There is a particular split between the Scottish Tories and their colleagues in London. At Holyrood, MSPs are furious that senior Conservative Jacob Rees-Mogg dismissed the leader of the Scottish Party as a lightweight figure.
It all flared up after Douglas Ross publicly called for the Prime Minister to resign after Boris Johnson admitted being at a Downing Street garden party during lockdown. Our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson has the latest on a row that isn't going away.
On the pitch, part-time referee Douglas Ross is used to having his decisions questioned. Off it, he's now facing a backlash from his own side.
Douglas Ross has always been quite a lightweight figure.
A comment unlikely to ease tension over Partygate with Tories in Holyrood.
Jacob Rees-Mogg, as anyone is entitled to their opinions, I don't have to agree with them.
The Prime Minister's position is untenable. I thought that was a very ill-advised remark from Jacob Rees-Mogg.
What's your message to Jacob Rees-Mogg?
You should just go and have a long lie down, perhaps, preferably not in the House of Commons.
But today, the leader of the Commons was standing by his remarks.
I think that if you are the leader of the Scottish Conservative Party, it is your duty to support the leader of the party nationally. That the backbenchers are entitled to express their views, and backbench MSPs likewise, and former Scottish leaders, one of whom is a very significant political figure, are entitled to express their views. But if you take the King's shilling, you are beholden to the Crown.
In Douglas Ross's Elgin constituency, many are not fine and dandy with the party row, or with someone looking down on their local MP.
Is he a lightweight?
No, I think he's right and Boris should be punished and resign, and the rest of the people that went to the party should be as well.
By saying that about Douglas Ross, he's handed it to SNP something to shout about, saying that the government in London are against Scotland again.
It was seized upon by Nicola Sturgeon at First Minister's questions.
Not a big figure, lightweight. These might be personal insults directed at the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, but actually they say something much deeper about the Westminster establishment's utter contempt for Scotland. If they can't even show basic respect for their own colleagues, what chance do the rest of us have?
At Westminster, the only Scottish Tory MP willing to publicly back Boris Johnson is the Scottish Secretary.
I'm 110% behind the Prime Minister. I think he's done a fantastic job throughout the pandemic, not just with vaccines, with the booster, resisting going into restrictions for the economy.
But all this has thrown division between Scotland and London into sharp focus.
I don't think there is a rift at all. There's clearly a difference of opinion. Some people want to wait to see the result of the civil service inquiry, but Douglas set out those conditions. We supported him in having done that, and if people take different views, then that's fine.
As the fallout continues, the row over Downing Street parties has moved beyond just the future of Boris Johnson's job.
Well, live now to Catherine in Westminster. Catherine, we haven't actually seen Boris Johnson today.
No, the Prime Minister, we're told, has a family member who has tested positive for COVID. He is holed up in Downing Street, where we're told he will be isolating for 5 days. The question tonight, of course, how isolated is he from his own party? Well, some of his ministers have been rallying behind Boris Johnson today, but you look at that situation in Scotland and you think, well, you can't help but wonder if some long-term damage has been done here, especially for a Prime Minister who has styled himself as Minister for the Union. Now, many MPs, including the other Scottish Tory MPs, would tell you they are waiting for the Sue Gray investigation into alleged Downing Street parties to report back before they make any of their views public. But, you know, it is interesting to state again that the only Scottish MP who has been prepared to publicly back Boris Johnson so far is his Scottish Secretary, who of course is in his cabinet and on his payroll.
Catherine in Westminster, thank you.
The mess that Boris Johnson finds himself in over lockdown parties has pitched Scottish Conservatives against the party's high command down south. Nearly all the 31 MSPs have publicly backed their leader, Douglas Ross, in calling for the Prime Minister to resign. But his stance has put him in the firing line, with the UK Cabinet Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg calling him a lightweight. Another key figure, the Scottish Secretary Alistair Jack, says he's 100% supportive of Boris Johnson. Here's our political editor, Glenn Campbell.
By late last night, Cabinet Ministers were deployed to back up Boris Johnson, and in doing so on Newsnight, Jacob Rees-Mogg belittled the Scottish Conservative leader.
Douglas Ross has always been quite a lightweight figure, so I don't think that his...
Sorry, hang on. The leader of the Scottish Conservatives, an MSP and an MP is a lightweight figure.
I think the Scottish Secretary is a much more substantial and important figure.
That's infuriated Holyrood Tories. Ill-advised, said one, even if Douglas Ross himself was fairly restrained.
Douglas Ross, are you a lightweight?
Jacob Rees-Mogg, as anyone, is entitled to their opinions. I don't have to agree with them.
In calling for a new PM, Douglas Ross is on the same side as Nicola Sturgeon, who taunted him at Holyrood Question Time.
I think, as we've just seen, have big political differences with Douglas Ross, but even I'm not as derogatory about him as his own Tory colleagues are being.
At Westminster, the Scottish Secretary offered 100% support to Boris Johnson and some to Douglas Ross.
I don't think Douglas is a lightweight at all. He's a very good politician.
Was it a mistake for Jacob Rees-Mogg to say that on Newsnight?
It's entirely, Jacob's views are entirely for Jacob. I hope that when Sue Gray's report comes out, that those that may have, in my words, jumped the gun on this, if the Prime Minister is exonerated in her report, then they may reconsider their position.
How is it even possible he could be exonerated when he said there were no parties, and clearly there were parties, social gatherings in and around Downing Street, some of which he attended?
As I say, that's a matter for Sue Gray.
This is a big rift in the Conservative Party, and some think attempts to belittle Douglas Ross will encourage those in the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party who want to break away from the UK Tories, an idea Douglas Ross says he does not support.
In the Commons, there was no apology from the Leader of the House.
Is it now government policy to attack your own party?
It seems to me that people who hold office ought to support the leader of the party. That is the honourable and proper thing to do.
In Elgin, in Douglas Ross's Murray constituency, voters are taking sides between their local MP and Jacob Rees-Mogg.
For Rees-Mogg to say that the leader of the Tory party in Scotland was a nobody is, you know, it's pretty shocking.
I find him quite arrogant, but Douglas Ross is great for Murray.
Douglas Ross is a lightweight. He could be right.
But heavy enough to effectively be leading the campaign to oust a UK Conservative leader and Prime Minister who appears to have broken the lockdown rules he imposed.
And Glenn is in Westminster for us tonight. Glenn, while today's been dominated by the fallout from Jacob Rees-Mogg's comments, at the centre of the scandal remains the Prime Minister. How does his position look this evening?
Well, he's not out of the danger zone yet, because the majority of Conservative MPs, unlike Douglas Ross, have yet to make their views clear, waiting perhaps for feedback from constituents over the weekend and probably for that inquiry report by Sue Gray, which should come in the next week or so. Waiting is certainly what the MP for West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine, Andrew Bowie, is doing, although he has already made clear that Boris Johnson's apology in itself will not be enough to satisfy him. Cabinet ministers have been rallying round Boris Johnson with eyebrows raised about how many hours it took some to take to social media to offer their support. In another development, the Metropolitan Police say they will not investigate parties unless and until the Cabinet Office and the inquiry by Sue Gray finds evidence of criminality. So it seems tonight the police, like much of Westminster, is waiting for Sue.
Glenn Campbell, thank you very much.